Why hello! So today I'm going to be sharing with you my most anticipated books of 2019. Last year I actually did this video by seasons, but this year I don't have that many books that I'm anticipating, so I decided to just do it in one video. At first I was kind of disappointed that there weren't as many books I was excited about, but at the same time, considering the fact that I am trying to read the books on my shelves, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. Also, I'm sure that throughout the year more will pop up that I'll be interested in, but for now, these are the ones that I am anticipating. So the first book that I am highly anticipating for 2019 comes out on January 8th, and it is called In an Absent Dream by Shauna McGuire. This is the fourth book in the Wayward Children series, and if you have been a viewer of my channel for long, you will know that this is a very, very, very loved series on my channel. I have a debate on whether or not this series is considered young adult or adult, because while it does follow a group of young adults, it's very adult in its themes. So I'm sticking to adult for saying what this series is. For those of you who don't know, the Wayward Children series follows a group of young adults who have all gone off to magical lands. Think Alice going to Wonderland, think Dorothy going to Oz. They've all experienced these different magical lands, but the thing that they have in common is that they have returned to the real world and don't know what to do with themselves, so they go to attend this school for wayward children. While I was a little bit let down with the third book in the series, Beneath the Sugar Sky, I'm still very excited for this new addition to the series, and I'm hoping that I'm gonna enjoy it just as much as I enjoyed the first two, so fingers crossed for that one. The next book that I am highly anticipating also comes out on January 8th, and it is Slayer by Kiersten White. Another extremely loved fandom for me is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I have been a fan since I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. Definitely way too young to be watching it, but I have watched it since then over and over and over again, and this book is supposed to take place in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer verse. I don't think I have to go into a lot of detail about Buffy. I think whether you're a fan or not, you've at least heard of Buffy. One girl in all the world chosen to slay the vampires. There's been a lot of things announced for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. As you'll see further on the list, there's some graphic novels coming out, and there's supposed to be a reboot of the series. I know that it's not gonna follow Buffy and the gang, but it's gonna follow a new Slayer. So I'm kind of thinking that this book is gonna be similar. Now, being such a Buffy fan, I'm of course skeptical of this, and I'm going in very I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high, and I'm also trying to give it a fair chance because I've heard that Kiersten White is a fantastic writer. However, whether or not she is a good writer does not exactly determine if she's going to do justice to the Buffy verse. So again, we'll have to see. And I'm like 100% sure that this is young adult, which again makes me kind of skeptical. I am reading both this book and In an Absent Dream during January, so you guys will definitely know my thoughts about those by the end of the month. The next book on my list is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kimmerer. I'm not sure if that's how you say her name, but that's how it seems, I don't know. This is a young adult retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and there have been so many of those. So many of those. So many that I've owned, so many that I've read. But this one definitely stands apart from the pack because it follows a girl with cerebral palsy. I don't know much more about it, but that alone made me interested. I think that it is fantastic that more CP rep is getting out there, especially in young adult. I have someone in my life who is very close to me who has CP, so I hope that this book does the representation justice. The next book is Drop Dead Gorgeous, which is part of the new Fear Street series by R.L. Stine. This book comes out on February 5th, and I'm looking forward to it because it's Fear Street, and I love Fear Street, and I recently purchased a lot of Fear Street books because I used to read them when I was younger. So to see another book in the series coming out, I'm really excited about it. I don't know if I'm gonna go back and read all the old ones before I read the newer ones that have released. There's been, I think, around like 5 to 10 released over the past few years. So maybe I'll just start with those. Part of me is a little skeptical because the original Fear Street took place in the 90s and this is like a modernized version. So I'm wondering how much I'm gonna like it, but I will of course give it a chance, and I already own several of the books anyway, so I definitely need to start reading those. The next book that I am looking forward to is a graphic novel, and it is Giant Days Volume 9, which comes out on February 19th. I am in love with this series. I've mentioned it several times on my channel. I actually reread the first 3 volumes just in the past couple weeks, and I am on volume 5 now, which is all new material. So I'm really excited to finish up those volumes and then continue on with this volume. For those of you who don't know, Giant Days follows a group of 3 teenage girls who are attending a university in England. They're all so quirky, they're all so funny. It's like, you know how you have a group of characters, whether they're in a TV show or a movie or a book, and you single out like one that you really enjoy? But with this series, I love all of them so much. Though if I absolutely had to pick, it would be Esther, because I feel like, you know, I just love her so much. The next book that I am really looking forward to is The Red Scrolls of Magic, Book 1 in the Eldest Curses series by Cassandra Clare, which comes out on April 9th. I'm not sure if this is going to be another trilogy or a series, but I do know that it follows Magnus and Alec, and that's enough for me to get behind. Again, Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunter universe is very well known, very beloved, but if you don't know, it is a young adult urban fantasy that follows a group of people known as Shadowhunters who are half angel, and they're basically here to protect the world from the bad guys, the demons, the monsters, the things that go bump in the night. It's very Buffy-esque, and it's also very obvious that Cassandra Clare was inspired by Buffy to write this series, so it's one of the reasons why I really enjoy it. The next book that I'm very much looking forward to is Inspection by Josh Malerman, which comes out on April 23rd. This sounds like it's going to be an adult sort of sci-fi or dystopian novel, as it follows a group of students who are all attending this secluded academy in the woods, and they're all being trained for something. It sounds very suspect, very kind of weird, very kind of Never Let Me Go-ish a bit. So I'm looking forward to reading it. I have read Josh Malerman's Bird Box and The House at the Bottom of the Lake, and so far I have really enjoyed his books, though I have heard from friends that other books he has written are a little less impressive. So I'm kind of going into this excited but a little nervous as well. The next book is a book that I'm looking forward to because it's by a booktuber, but because of the genre, I'm kind of like, I don't know, mixed feelings about. It is Again But Better by Christine Riccio. She is, of course, Poland Bananas Books here on BookTube, and I've followed her for years. While I haven't really stayed up to date with her recent videos, she was one of the first booktubers that I ever watched, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing her work. However, I think it's a young adult contemporary, so I'm kind of like meh about it. I don't know anything else about it except that because when it comes to contemporary, I prefer dark contemporary, and I'm thinking this is like kind of light and fluffy. So I don't want to know anything else about it before I pick it up. So we'll have to see how this goes. The next book that I'm looking forward to also comes out on May 7th, and it is Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. This is an adult sort of sci-fi-y, maybe dystopian book. The summary is very brief and sort of abrupt, and it follows 2 twins who I guess are like geniuses, and I'm assuming they're clones because their creator wants to train them to become gods. That's what I get from the synopsis. Again, it's very strange, but it's Shauna McGuire, so of course it's gonna be strange. The next book that I'm looking forward to is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the graphic novel. That comes out on May 14th, and I'm excited about this book, but again, kind of skeptical because it's the same cast of characters of Buffy, but they are modernizing Buffy. So I don't know. It's like with Fear Street. It's like, why do you want to mess with something that's so perfect? But at the same time, it's more of something that I love from a universe that I love. And Joss Whedon is apparently overseeing this graphic novel series. So I'm excited and I'm nervous. I'm excited. You know how it goes. The next book that I am anticipating is Ghosts of the Shadow Market by Cassandra Clare. This book comes out on June 4th. And it is a bind-up of short stories that take place in the Shadowhunter universe. I think it follows Jim Carsters from the Infernal Devices series, but I'm not entirely sure. Again, this is just a continuation and the never-ending Shadowhunter verse, so of course I've got to check it out. The next book that I'm looking forward to is Teeth in the Mist by Dawn Kurtagich. This book comes out on June 11th, and I believe it is a young adult horror story, as Dawn Kurtagich is known to write. I don't know a ton about it because I don't really want to know a ton about it, but I do know that it follows 3 women over 3 different time periods who are all living in a haunted house. I think, and it sounds perfect to me. I read Dawn Kurtigich's debut novel, The Dead House, and I really enjoyed it. And I have her next novel, The Trees Crept In, which I need to read. So hopefully I'll read that before this comes out and just have all the Dawn Kurtigich in my life. The next book that I'm looking forward to is volume 10 of Giant Days, which comes out on June 25th. I've already talked about Giant Days. You guys know how much I love this series, and I love how many volumes we are getting this year. So yes, of course, I am excited about this. The next book that I'm very much looking forward to is Growing Things and Other Stories by Paul Tremblay, which comes out on July 2nd. This is an adult novel, and I'm assuming it is horror, as that is mainly what Paul Tremblay has written in the past. Paul Tremblay actually made it onto my favorite books of 2018 list, as well as my worst books of 2018 list. So if you guys want to check out those videos, I'll leave a card and also link them down below. I read Josh Malerman's book, A Head Full of Ghosts, last summer, and I loved it so much. And then I read his newest book, A Cabin at the End of the Worlds, in October, and didn't love it so much. So I don't know how to feel about this book. Again, it's another book that I'm kind of nervous about, but really just hoping for the best. The next book on my list is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. This book comes out on July 9th, and I'm not sure if it's young adult or adult, but I do believe it's like a horror / suspense novel. Early reviews have said that it has a very Lord of the Flies feel to it, but rather it follows a group of girls, and I'm just like so ready for it. I haven't read Lord of the Flies, but I know the idea behind it. Stranded students on an island searching for survival. Sounds pretty great to me. The next book that I'm looking forward to is The World of Throne of Glass, and this does not have a cover yet, but it comes out on October 1st, and it's supposed to just be a companion novel to the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I'm imagining it's going to be something like The World of Ice and Fire, the companion to the A Song of Ice and Fire series, just more details about the lands and the characters and the magic systems, and I'm totally ready for it. For those of you who don't know, Throne of Glass is a young adult fantasy novel that follows a young woman who has been pulled out of imprisonment to compete in a competition for the king, and if she wins this competition, she will be released from her prison and serve as the king's assassin. It's very good. I'm actually rereading the series right now. I'm going to be starting book 3 this month, then book 4 the following month, and so on and so on. So I am looking forward to it. I've read up to book 4 and I haven't read any more since then, so I've got quite a few books to catch up on. The next book is Chain of Gold, which is the first book in the Last Hours series by Cassandra Clare. This book comes out on November 19th, and it's like, my God, does this woman do anything else but write? Because all of the books that she has coming out this year alone, and she just had one come out in December. I wish I was capable of writing that much, or just writing. Anyway, I'm not gonna go into detail about this series because it's very spoilery, but I will say that it follows the children of characters from the Infernal Devices series. So it's gonna take place in Victorian London, and I'm just really excited to get back to that world. And I really like the cover. I don't care what people are saying about it. I think it's pretty. The final book that I am anticipating for 2019 is a book that I don't know will actually be released in 2019. No one does, actually. I'm sure you guys know what I'm referring to, but it is, of course, The Winds of Winter by George R.R. Martin. I have read all of the A Song of Ice and Fire books multiple times, and I am ready for the 6th book. I'm even more ready for the final season of Game of Thrones to air in April. Again, we don't have an exact date because HBO and George R.R. Martin obviously enjoy our suffering. For those of you who don't know, A Song of Ice and Fire is an adult high fantasy series that follows a group of people that are all vying for the Iron Throne, which gives them the power to control the 7 kingdoms. There is so much in this series, and I love the books. I love the show. They're both very different to me, but also very similar. It's hard to explain, but I love them both equally, and I'm really hoping to see something more from George R.R. Martin this year. Hopefully. But of course, I'm not gonna hold my breath. In the comments below, I would love for you guys to let me know if you are anticipating any of these books, if you received arcs of these books, if you've already read them somehow, whether you like them, whether you didn't like them, all of those things you know. I wanna know. I would also love to know some books that you are anticipating for 2019 because I would love to add more books to this list, even though I don't really need to because I don't need to buy any more books, you know? Still, I'd love to know what's out there. Also, Happy New Year. I'm sorry I didn't say this at the beginning of the video, but talking about all these books being released remind me that, hello, it's a new year. what. I hope you guys had a safe, wonderful New Year's, and I hope that you are just as excited as I am to read all the books in 2019. All right guys, so that's all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one.